603. Oh, go ahead.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the City of Socorro City Council meeting. Please, if you have telephones, electronic devices, you can turn them off, turn them to silent, so that we won't have to go there because they're being phone calls off. If you need to speak to somebody next to you, please go outside so you don't disrupt, because the acoustics in here are horrible. So if we have 2 or 3 people that are whispering, trust me, you can't hear in the back of the room. They have been working with the speakers, so hopefully maybe it works today. But if you're in the back of the room and you can't hear, please move forward. Because you can hear better up front than you can in the back. All right? Nobody's wearing hats on, it's steady to move your hats. Thank you very much.
Is it 604? Mr. Elton?
Everybody please stand. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Victor Perez.
Here.
Antonio Villalobos. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Rene Rodriguez.
Here.
Maria Reyes. Here. And Alejandro Garcia.
Here.
Public comment?
Andrés Aguilera.
¿Se puede subir? ¿Andrés? Aquí se puede subir al micrófono.
Señor Aguilera, tiene 3 minutos.
Yo venía ahorita para cambiar la zona, porque en el terreno que tengo quiero abrir un camión con comida,
Al micrófono.
con comida, y quiero tener la venta de cerveza. Eso es lo que vengo. Tengo zona 1.
No lo oí. Otra vez.
Tengo un terreno aquí por la Horizon y Alameda y quiero meter ahí la venta de cerveza. Tengo zona 1 y quiero cambiar la zona 2.
¿Qué es el domicilio? En cualquier, ¿usted gusta cambiar de zona?
188 Horizon.
Ok, muchas gracias.
Lorenza Freire. Mrs. Freire, you have 3 minutes.
It's kind of hard to speak when we don't have the space here to put our stuff. It's sad that you all haven't done anything to fix it for us. This evening I'm here because I see a lot of items on the agenda and I'm very concerned. I just want to say that we the people are watching what everybody is doing, and we're seeing that you want increases, council wants increases, expenditures are big, and everything else. Well, let me say something here. The government we elect is only the tip of the iceberg. The remaining 90%, which controls the real money and power, is unelected and hidden from view. Think about this. Who am I referring to, the 90%? Who has the real control of the money and power? I can assure you, we can find out just by following the money, who they are. This evening, your agenda shows that money is being paid out. Your agenda is considering new expenditures that you will need our approval. The people of Socorro are aware about how government, those elected, and the remaining 90% work. Our concern is Does Councilman at Large / Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to ask at this time for you, let me know that we know who the 90% are. Question is, Councilman at Large / Mayor, do you know? Come around and look and see. We are here. We will always be here. Our votes will be counted this election and future elections. Keep in mind, we do know who the 90% are. Even though you were elected and we remove you, we're concerned about the 90%. I don't think you are. So we're asking you, do you know who the 90% are? Thank you.
Sergio Jaime. Señor Jaime, tiene 3 minutos.
Buenas tardes. Mi sentir en este día, yo estoy muy molesto en la cuestión de que están pidiendo estas trocas, que ya en otra ocasión el señor René ya lo había hecho, ahora le pasa la bolita a la administradora a ver si se logra. Entonces, yo le pido al concilio que por favor tengan mucho cuidado ya de aquí en adelante en lo que están votando para beneficio de socorro de la gente. Ahora, si esas trocas son muy necesarias, van a tener un año paradas allí, nomás la van a ocupar cuando llueva, porque no rentan unas trocas cuando en esa ocasión tenga y no malgastan el dinero. Claro que no va a estar malgastado porque está invertido, pero no está dando un servicio que pueda dar una banqueta con ese dinero, un pavimento, ¿eh? Así es que tengan mucho cuidado con esas cosas. Es preferible sufrir un poco más. Acá ustedes no son los que sufren son los ciudadanos, ¿eh? Ustedes no tienen ningún riesgo. Otros no viven en las opulencias que nosotros, algunos de nosotros vivimos, pero otros no lo tienen. Así es que tengan mucho cuidado en decir las decisiones que están poniendo en esta agenda, porque aquí hay muy malas intenciones, ¿eh? Aquí hay muchas tranzas, aquí se ve, soy muy claro, yo no confío en nadie más que en 2 personas, y si con el favor de Dios se logra el señor García, pues quiero que por favor tome en cuenta muchas cosas de lo que hay que hacer, pero por la gente. Aquí hay que servirnos, pero para la gente, no para uno, ¿eh? Esa silla no es eterna, señores. Aquí hay muchas cosas que están mal, ¿eh? Y hay que componerlas, porque hay muchas injusticias que parece que es con guante blanco por abajo de la mesa, ¿verdad? Porque es lo que ha pasado. Aquí estamos representando a un Jesse Gándara, las tranzas que se hacían. Así es que le pido al concilio que tenga mucho cuidado en todo lo que hay, por favor. ¿Ok?
Gracias. Javier Prada. Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Pues yo vengo a hablar que a ver si nos arreglan la calle donde vivo. Tenemos años allí y nunca nos han arreglado. Esa calle está pero horrible, horrible. Ya ni pasamos por allí, andamos pasando por otros lados. Esa es la razón. Y la otra, de que hay muchos perros allí en mi barrio y yo no tengo perros. Van y se ensucian allí en mi terreno y todo, y no es justo. No, yo no veo que anden allí la perrera o ande alguien cuidando. Por eso yo no tengo perros, porque además los vecinos no limpian, señora, no limpian. Y está cochino, está muy feo, no me gusta. So, a ver si ustedes pueden ayudarnos.
¿El domicilio?
¿Mi domicilio? 573 Motel Drive.
¿Qué era? No escuché.
573 Motel Drive.
¿Moon?
No, Montel.
Motel.
Y allí vivo y le digo, esa calle nunca la han arreglado, nunca. arreglan todas las demás y la de nosotros no. No sé por qué razón. Y yo a eso vengo.
Señora, su nombre,
Para
por
que me
favor.
escuchen, por favor.
Señora,
Mi nombre, Josefina Parada. Esos dos problemas tengo allí en mi barrio. Gracias.
Gracias.
a usted.
María Nájera.
Buenas tardes. Yo vengo necesito que ustedes, no sé quién de todos, me haga el favor de ponerme mis topes. Yo se lo pedí a la señora Gloria y ella me dijo que sí. Junté firmas y ahora me sale el señor Terrazas que mi calle no es propia para poner unos topes porque es un cuarto de milla, no sé qué. Si la Lidia está desde la Horizon hasta la Sol. Ha habido muchos accidentes. Entonces, ¿qué es lo que quieren? Que maten a gente. Pasan los carros a lo que va. La señora María, yo le pido, por favor, que me haga ese favor. Nosotros ya hemos tenido muchos accidentes. Donde yo vivo es donde hace la curva. Entonces ya nos han tirado los buzones 3 veces. El último buzón fue en el 53, hace unas semanas. Fue la policía, lo reportaron y la policía fue hasta la mañana. Entonces, ¿qué es lo que esperan? Que haya un accidente grave donde maten a los niños, a personas, no sé qué, porque allí no respetan velocidad. Allí cada quien pasa van por su casa. Entonces, yo les pido a ustedes que no nomás a la hora de las elecciones que yo le prometo, señora, que esto y lo otro, pues vote por mí. No, a ver, lo quiero ver ahora. Porque yo todo el tiempo, nunca les he pedido nada y todo el tiempo he votado. Entonces, yo ahora les pido que me hagan ese favor. Es por el bien de nosotros. Nosotros que batallamos con los carros que pasan, parece que van a 55 millas por hora, en una calle que es a 25. Entonces yo, por favor, señora María, si usted quiere seguir de regidora de nuestro distrito, ayúdenos con eso.
Vamos a ver, a lo que yo tengo entendido es que ya le avisaron a la administradora para revisar esa calle. Déjenos hacernos que tenemos que hacer. Mañana veremos eso y vamos a ver qué es lo que se puede hacer y por qué no se puede hacer.
Tengo 5 años desde que estaba Víctor, como 20,000 veces le dije, ya se fue y nadie. Les pido y les pido, nadie nos hace caso. Allí estamos olvidados.
Okay.
La dirección.
Okay. Gracias.
¿Su dirección?
Es 10970 Lidia. Es en el pedacito ese de la curva. 5 accidentes.
Señora
tuvimos.
Nájera, se le terminó su tiempo.
Bueno, muchas gracias. Espero que me hagan ese favor.
Gracias. Gracias.
Those were all our speakers, Mayor.
We'll check it out tomorrow. Yeah, we'll just do it like that. Consent agenda, could I have a motion? Motion to approve? Motion to approve, do I have a second?
Second.
First and a second.
Victor Pérez,
Aye.
Iván Colón Villalobos,
Yes.
María Reyes, and Alejandro García.
Yes. At this time, council, I would like to move forward item number 22 and 24, with 24 being first.
22 and 24?
Yes, sir.
24 being first.
With 24 being first.
All right, so I'll go ahead and make the motion to bring up items 24 and 22 in the agenda in that order.
Second?
First and second.
Victor Pérez,
Aye.
Iván Colom Villalobos,
Yes.
María Reyes, Alejandro García.
Aye.
Thank you.
Number 24. Discussion and action on approving the issuance of fiscal year 2016 audit financial statement by RCP, CPAs, and Consultant LLP.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, city councilors. My name is Danny Martinez. I am the partner in charge of the audit for the city of Socorro, and I'm here along with the partner in charge of our El Paso office, Mike White, who's in the crowd. And I'm here to present to you all the audit results for the fiscal year 2016 audit. So this audit was conducted for the period of October 1st, 2015 through September 30th, 2016. The things I want to highlight in here, as we go through, being respectful of your time, is we definitely saw effects of the stability in the financial department this year. So that'll be highlighted. We saw improvement in financial reporting. The things that I reported to you all last year in relation to the fiscal year 15 audit, we saw some improvements there as far as the controls in place and those types of things. So it really shows that you all did pay attention to the deficiencies that we had pointed out in the previous year. And lastly, I want to make sure this is kind of looking in the past, through 9/30/16. But I want to touch on some immediate and maybe long-term recommendations, things that you can implement going forward in order to assist the city in continuing to strengthen your financial reporting. So the timeline of the audit, we signed the engagement letter shortly after we completed last year's audit. The planning began in January. I've been working with Adriana and with Charlie, throughout that time. Our team came out in March, and we pretty much had this thing wrapped up, around May. We had a little bit of a hold-up waiting for some final correspondence and some representations that we need in order to complete the binder. But all in all, pretty smooth process. And we've had this thing ready to present to you all, for about a month and a half. We're just trying to find the right time, to get here to present to you all. So, an improvement over last year's timeline. The first thing I want to go over is a few financial statement highlights. So this is your statement of net position. This is, your assets and your liabilities. And I believe you have the financial statements and auditor's reporting package in front of you. This is just a highlight of some of those things. If, after the presentation, you're thumbing through and you have any questions, you'll feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is on the presentation. But as of 9/30/2016, the city of Socorro had $34.2 million in assets. That's pretty similar to the year before. Of that, about 2/3 of it is your capital assets. Okay, your roads, your buildings, your infrastructure, those types of things, land, in addition, you had cash of $4.6 million and unspent bond proceeds. So that's also cash, but cash designated for certain capital projects of $5.5 million. And that's as of 9/30/16. So I'm sure some of that has already been spent down since then on those specific capital projects. Your liabilities, you had about $25 million in liabilities. Most of that is your debt, your long-term debt, your bonds payable that you all have every year. I believe the payments of principal and interest every year for that are around $1.7 million, but those are all covered with property taxes. So with that, there was an increase in your net position or your equity, what you have after you take your assets minus your liabilities. So it increased about $1 million over the year, from $8 to $9 million. The next report is a statement of activities. So this talks about what happened in regards to your revenue and your expenses for that period that we talked about. So from October 1st, 2015 to September 30th, 2016. So as you can see, revenue actually went up by about 1.1 million. A large portion of that increase was related to increase in property tax revenue. I believe about 600,000 of that was related to property tax revenue. So of that 10.3 million, 6.6 is your property tax revenue, 1.6 million is your sales tax, and your expenses. You did well to manage expenses in 2016. Decrease of about 300,000 from the year before. So total expenses were about 9.3 million. So there you see you had 10.3 million in revenue, 9.3 in expenses. So that's where you get that 1 million increase that I talked about earlier. The next thing I wanted to touch on, so the city of Socorro has 4 different funds that you account for all of your information in. The general fund, the special revenue fund, the capital projects fund, and the debt service fund. So the general fund is, most of your operations. Most of your operations falls into that general fund. And the one thing highlight I wanted to point out with that, well, a few things in the general fund. First of all, your general fund has about 4 million in cash, and in addition, about 1.5 million of receivables at that time. And most of those, about 1 million of those were for your property taxes. One thing I want to highlight in relation to that was your budget. You budgeted about 8.1 million that year for both revenues and expenditures in your general fund. Your revenues came in about 8.2 million, so right around where you were hoping. But your expenses were actually down. They were actually at 7.4 million. So overall, you were about 600,000 less in expenditures than you had planned. The large amount of that, about half of that, was in your general government. So you're a little bit more conservative with your operations, and an additional about 115,000 was your infrastructure and environmental costs. So with that, you had about 8.1 million in revenue, 7.4 million in expenses for your general fund. Your special revenue fund, that's where you administer all of your grants, your federal grants, your state grants. You don't have too much of those, but that's kind of where it's administered. Not too much happened in that fund during that year. Your capital projects fund, that's where you'll see 5.7 million of that restricted cash. So you have cash in there that is unspent bond proceeds. So you got your bond proceeds, and you're just waiting to spend it on capital projects. And I'm sure since September 30th, 2016, that's kind of been spent down as you're spending on the projects that they were designated for. And again, your debt service fund, that's where you manage your payments, and you also record property taxes, revenue related to that. This is probably the biggest point, the biggest highlight for the city for the fiscal year 2016. If you remember in prior year, we had to give what was called a qualified opinion in 2015, and what we said was, because of the insufficient evidence, audit evidence that we were getting over your municipal court receivables, we had an issue with running the report on time to be able to tell how much revenue and how much receivables was from your courts. We couldn't really give an opinion on the financial statements for your governmental activities, your general fund, and your special revenue fund. But this year, with working with Public Works, working with Charlie, working with Adriana, we got the right reports that we needed on time, and we were able to issue an unmodified, or what is the best opinion that we can issue on your financial statements. So those financial statements that you have in front of you, we feel that the numbers are all, there's a reasonable assurance that they're materially stated, so that they're materially correct financial statements. So that's an improvement over last year, where we had a certain balance that we couldn't get enough audit evidence on. The next thing we have is we have some required communications. You may have an audit reporting package in front of you as well. And that highlights just different things that we found in relation to the audit. Some of them I'll touch on in a second, as far as recommendations for the future. And also we have to disclose a few certain things. Significant estimates. There's some numbers in those financial statements that are estimates. They're not real hard numbers. One of those is your collectability of your municipal court receivables. So you had about 4.5 million of those receivables, and a lot of them were a little bit older. And I know you continue to work on collection for those. So with that, we have to say, okay, of this 4.5 million, this much is how much the city thinks they're going to collect. And so that's an estimate that's in your financial statements. Again, another one is your depreciable lives of assets. So you have your capital assets. So this building, for example, you say, we think it's going to last 30 years. So you kind of expense that asset over those 30 years. Well, that's an estimate. You're not really sure how long necessarily this building is going to last. There were 13 journal entries proposed during the audit process. So from the final trial balance that we received from Charlie, we had 13 different adjustments that we proposed and that were posted by you all in order to get to the financial statement numbers in front of you. You know, we had a couple adjustments related to your capital assets, related to that, those warrants receivable, and that's really just, you know, when we come in the audit, we don't necessarily expect every single number to be 100% accurate. So as we're going through those audit procedures, if we find things, we say, hey, Charlie, hey, Adriana, we found this adjustments. We think it should be this number. What do you think? We come to an agreement and we post those. So there were 13 of those during this year. In addition, in the reporting package, we kind of go over different control deficiencies, material weaknesses, significant deficiencies, and other matters. So what I wanted to highlight here for you all is the items that were corrected from fiscal year 15 to fiscal year 16. So one of them, and the one you'll continue to see in our recommendations, is just the whole control structure in the financial department. These are the things that were corrected. So you corrected your review of journal entries by if the finance director posts a journal entry, those are reviewed by someone else now. We were able to obtain supporting documentation for journal entries. We saw that bank reconciliations were being performed in a timely manner. There were some controls over that. So these are just different things related to the control structure that we saw that were improved during fiscal year 16. In addition, I talked about that municipal court warrants receivable. We were actually able to get the correct report, and we believe, going forward, we worked with the software company that deals with this, and we got with your public works department and now they know, okay, this is the report we're running every September 30th. There were some liability balances in 2015 that were just kind of sitting there. We were unsure what they were, so those got cleared up and cleaned out during 2016. And in addition, we saw more controls over your budgeting process. In 2015, we saw areas where you had a budget, but then you spent more than your budget. This year, we didn't see any of those issues where your budget, where what you budgeted, that you actually spent either at your budget or less than your budget in all of your funds. So that shows that the controls over that budgeting process and the importance of that has been improved. And I want to kind of close this, as your auditor, we're kind of, looking backwards. Here we are, 8, 9, 10 months down the road, saying this is what happened, previously. But what can you do now? Right now, going forward in the next year, in the next few years, what can we help you all with in order to, to strengthen the finance department and your structure? So the first thing is to continue to work on your internal control structure. We had the bullet point, I believe there were 13 items last year. 8 of those were corrected last year. There's still another 5 outstanding related to this internal control structure. So continuing to work and to strengthen those, and those should be listed in your audit reporting package. If you have any questions about any of those individually, just get with me, or how can we resolve them. More than happy to help. We've already talked with Charlie and Adriana about things that we think that you should do, working with other municipalities in Texas and New Mexico. But just if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. So along with that, whenever you're revising things and you're making things better, make sure that you're going back and looking at your policies and procedures that they're matching. Because what we saw for a few places, we saw improvements, but then the policies and procedures part of it of, what is actual city policy was maybe lagging behind a little bit. So let's go ahead and take credit for those new strengthened controls that you have and put the policies and procedures in place and get them approved by you all here at the City Council. Identify internal resources or hire external help to clean up areas that have been lingering for years. There's a few areas, the collectability of those municipal receivables, identifying how much is really collectible, doing an inventory of your capital assets, cleaning out a few accounts that have been on as internal control deficiencies or things that you can work on for a few years now, and you've done such a good job of improving them that I really think that you're right there to where you can get to the, to that next level and get all those cleared. And each of those individually won't take a lot of time. It's just kind of dedicating the focus on those either internally or externally to find someone to help you alleviate those. There's probably 4, 5, or 6 of those that if you took a good few days and just said we're going to fix this, you would be able to fix this. So that's another immediate recommendation. And also just to continue to invest in the training of city financial team members. Just to point out, if you feel like the stability is starting to be there in the financial, the financial department. So, continuing to strengthen, the training and the knowledge internally of, what a correct journal entry or what correct posting looks like. So people, so you're a little bit more aware, and the more knowledgeable your people are, the better they are to catch things, if anything is occurring. Longer term recommendations, so not necessarily the right nows, but maybe, 12 months out, those types of things. You'll want to look at producing a CAFR. So right now you have an annual financial statement. A lot of cities and counties in Texas have what's called a comprehensive annual financial report. So that is the exact same thing, but there's additional information. There's some statistical sections about the different revenue sources that you all have, the different industries that you service. And it takes a little bit more work, it's an additional 30, 40 pages that you add to it. But that could be, something, a long-term 2-3 year goal that, we want to produce a CAFR here at the city of Socorro. And in addition, kind of going back to, once you clear these things up, look into maybe quarterly internal auditing of the city's processes. So that would be someone internally, someone externally, just every, once a quarter, pick, or once a year, you pick 4 things we're going to look at. We're going to look really deep into the court receivables. We're going to look really deep into how capital assets get on the books to make sure that they're put on right. We're going to look into how we collect cash at the different places to make sure that, this community center here or whatever has just as good of cash controls as if it came straight to, to the city, those types of things. So those are different things, longer term recommendations. Once you finish cleaning these things up, I would recommend that you all do as a city of your size. All in all, I just want to point out the fact that we were able to give an opinion, we give a clean opinion on the financial statements for fiscal year 2016. The budget, your expenditures were about $600,000 lower than you had budgeted for. The general fund in and of itself has about $3.5 million in cash that was not at 9/30/16 designated for any specific purpose, at least not in the financial statements. You may have done things since then at City Council or had plans for it, but as of the 9/30/16 financial statements, you look financially strong. You have the bonds payable. You obviously have those outstanding, but other than that, not too many liabilities, and you do have a decent amount of cash and property tax receivables, those types of things. Just want to again thank you all. This is my second year serving as the manager / partner on the City of Socorro's audit. It's been great building a relationship with Adriana and then with Charlie this year. I think so. You all have been great to work with. Thank you again for the opportunity to serve you all. And 9:30 is going to be coming up here quickly again. But if you all have any questions from now until then, in the future, please please give me a call, shoot me an email if you have questions now. I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Mr. Reyes has a question.
According to your report that we have here, we have that you have some comments in regarding the index A, B, C, and then we leave, there were no disagreements with that. On A, you have noted it affected the financial statements of the collectability,
Mm-hmm.
why? The residual value, resources, capital resources, and then management, portion of the for that. When you did this report, this was already addressed and or this is what we need to address at this time.
So this was as of September 30th, 2016. If things are resolved between now and then, even though I'm presenting to you all today, this is as of a certain date report. So we're giving a report of that from October 1st, 2015 through September 2016.
So we're addressing that, and it won't show.
On the appendix B, you all, the same thing applies, as well as to the audit procedure that was corrected by references?
Yes. So those audit adjustments that were corrected by management, those were those 13 adjustments that we kind of talked through during the audit. So those would be, we talk to them, hey, we see this, can you please correct it? Or first of all, do you agree with it? And then if you agree with it, let's correct it. And those were all corrected during.
Those are those 13 you did correct, is that correct?
So those are two different things. So for the actual numbers, all of the 13 that we brought up were all corrected.
Okay.
Of the 13 where I said, hey, we're corrected, that is related to just different control processes that you all have. But the numbers themselves, everything related to numbers was corrected.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Number 22.
Do we have a motion for this?
Oh, do we have? Accept.
Motion to approve?
Have a motion, can I have a second?
Second.
And we have two speakers. Lorenza Freire.
My name is Lorenza Freire, and like I stated earlier, government that we elect is only the tip of the iceberg. The remaining 90%, which controls the money and power, is unelected and hidden from view. I thank this evening, and I thank God Almighty for reporting such a report as to what I have found. I can assure you, we can find out just by following the money. The report this evening can assure me that we are not having the right 90% taking care of our money correctly. There are so many things that are wrong in the audit, and they shouldn't have been wrong, because if you go back, and if you recall, Councilman at Large, Chito Bowling brought this to your attention way back then, when the audits were always coming out, and you made the statement, the audits are always coming out the same. Well, it's the same today. There are problems in the way the money of the city of Socorro is being handled. And from this point on, we can assure you, we are here and we will continue to be here, and we're going to take action. It's about time that you all that sit there and collect this little money that we give you, 10,000 or 15,000, and I noticed this evening you want 5,000 more. You don't deserve it, because the audit shows you're not taking very good care of our money. As the auditor went on to say, internal control is a problem, policies and procedures, identifying the internal resources.
Mrs.
There's a
Friday,
lot
your
of
time is
issues,
up.
Okay?
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Sergio Jaime.
Pues sobre lo de los salarios esos, ¿verdad? Que van a incrementar de acuerdo a de aquí a noviembre, ¿verdad? Es lo que se supone que están diciendo. Para ese tiempo van a ver si ustedes conceden si van a aumentarse 1,000, 2,000.
No estamos hablando de eso, estamos hablando de la auditoría.
Oh,
Jim.
I'm sorry.
Victor Perez.
Council, before we take a vote, I would like to say something. You know, since I got here in 2013 with Chito Bowling and Jesus Ruiz, I would like to say that we have balanced the budget. At that time, we were at $1.8 million going into our funds balance, and we brought it down to almost 300,000. So, I mean, people can say all they want to say. They can choose a sentence or two of all of what was presented, but if the facts are the facts, the controls that they're asking us, the recommendations, you know, we're taking into account all the recommendations. If we don't fulfill them, it doesn't mean that it's something wrong. It's just they want us to do it a certain different way. Everything is correct. Everything that he said and what Ms. Reyes asked was all corrected. So for you guys to understand that everything was corrected. So when you come up here and you say fallacies and you say lies and all the time, this and that, it's just funny how people come up to this podium and speak their mind, which is fine and dandy, but when they don't really understand and don't really say the full picture is that when they were under their control, it was horrible. So with that, I'm just saying that we are working. We are doing the best thing for our constituents. When they say that we the people, believe me, they're not talking about me because I am one of those people. I am one of these residents, and they don't speak for me or anybody up here in council. So with that, let's take the motion.
Victor Perez?
Aye.
Ivan Colom Villalobos?
Since the report was just given to us and we really did not get the opportunity to review, and we're just taking the word of the CPA, I'm going to abstain from voting.
Maria Reyes?
Well, actually, I felt the same way. That's why I had these questions for the auditor in regards to some of the comments that they had on the audit. I would have liked to have gone through this a little bit more. I know they were pressed for time, but this has a lot to do with the finances of the city. And I kind of feel I'm not comfortable with it, even though I know that the city's doing good, but I have my own questions that I would have liked to have asked, maybe personally or in a different manner, but I'm going to abstain.
Alejandro Garcia?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Aye. Number 9, introducing the first reading and calling for a public hearing.
Number 22.
Oh, we already did 20.
22.
Oh, sorry. 22. 22, discussion and action on waiving fees for proposed building permit for Leathan Clark Survey, 293, Track 6A at 1120 Horizon Boulevard.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This petitioner is asking to waive the building permit fees. This property is located at 1120 Horizon Boulevard. They were asking for a building permit on May 8th, 2017. The owner applied for a building permit to build a retail center. They had already applied back in November 3rd, 2015, and they paid $8,000 for the building permit. The contractor was working on the grading all this time. According to the Munich Code, Section 4694, the code says that the permit shall expire if work has not begun within 90 days after the issuance of the building permit. Because work was delayed longer than the 90 days, the permit expired, so they had to reapply for another building permit. Unfortunately, the Planning and Zoning Department does not have the authority to waive the permit fee. An alternative would be to have the applicant pay the fee for the new building permit. This property is this big lot right along Horizon. And they just finished grading the whole lot. This is how it looks right now.
And grading doesn't count as process?
Well, they paid for two separate permits. They paid for the grading permit and they paid for the building permit at the same time. But they didn't have enough time to finish the grading when the building permit expired.
Ms. Villalobos?
That was
Sorry.
the question. Why why did it take, why did they not, I'm sorry, why did it take 90 days for them not to complete it? And why did they not complete
Well,
it?
the reason it took so long is because this lot is so big, and it took longer than what was expected. They were, I guess, they probably didn't think how long it was gonna take for the grading to be complete, and they paid for the building permit at the same time.
We do have the owner here, and he was the one that brought this to my attention, and that is the reason why we placed it on the agenda. So I would like him to kind of speak up and say the reason why it took him so long. Gabriel Zubia.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Rest assured, the permit was paid. I was misled by Mr. Leone and Mr. Rochelle. I was told that even though I told them the permits were not completed yet, they said we've already done our part, go ahead and pay for them. We still needed to get with the Lower Valley Water, the sewer, and get some of those things straightened out. So what we ended up doing is paying for the grading permit and start working on the grading so we can get it and start moving forward with the process. It took longer than expected to get the water and the sewer situated.
Yeah.
When we found out about the water and the sewer, we had to make some adjustments on the permits itself. And when we came back to Mr. Rochelle 3 to 4 months ago before they were terminated, at that time, the promises that he had given me when I initially paid him, he told me that we had to redo it again because it had already expired according to him. So the fees were paid, the permit was paid, so we're not asking for a waiver, we're asking for consideration of the money that was already
An
spent
extension.
to utilize with the current permit so we can continue my project. So my project has been on hold right now, 6 months, waiting to talk to you guys to be able to, not 6 months, about 2 or 3 months to be able to talk to you guys to see if you guys would consider utilizing the funds that had already been paid for the current permit.
So, hypothetically, if council allows you to get an extension on your waiver on this, how long before you start?
We will start within a week. We are ready to move forward already on the buildings. I
Okay.
got a retail center, I got folks waiting. It's a matter of waiting for you guys so we can start erecting the buildings.
Mr. Pettis?
I think that if we call it a waiver, we're treading some,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
some
I
ground
agree.
that we're not gonna be able to come back from.
Yeah.
But if we do an extension of this permit, 2 weeks, 2 work weeks,
Yes, sir.
I think that'd be doable that way, because although he says, and I'm sure he has all the intentions of doing it in 5 days, things won't always end up being that way. And so I would feel comfortable with the 2 work week extension. 10 days.
Ms. Reyes?
I think that, with you, no fault of yours, okay, we can take that into consideration and cannot say wait, because that will promise by something down the road, but you waited, then let's take an extension maybe with unforeseen things that come up. I kind of think that maybe 30 days would be more than sufficient.
Correct.
Because
Yeah, and I appreciate that.
Monsoon season, we don't know what else is coming up. You know, your equipment breaks down, whatever else, and if you do it on the time, we don't want to come back and say, well, you know what, 5 days is not enough. So, you know, I figure maybe we give you a 30-day, extension, not a waiver. That would make a difference.
Mr. Pettis?
But as long as they break ground, they're complying with the permit, correct? So then, even if we do it 2 week, that's what we're talking about, you break ground.
Correct.
Within the 10, as far as I'm concerned, that I would say the 10 working days. That fulfills the
extension of
permit
the permit.
for the
full
construction portion. Yes?
Yes, and I'm glad you pointed that out. I agree with you. It's not a waiver that I'm asking for. I've already paid the funds. I was misled by unfortunately, the folks that you guys had employed before by the city.
So would you feel comfortable with 2 weeks?
I would much rather take Ms. Maria's 30 days. I believe that we are ready to move forward within the 2 weeks, but as she pointed out, I would take anything.
Ms. Villalobos?
Thank you.
What else do you need to break ground? What
Uh,
are you waiting?
The permit is what we're waiting for right now, so it would just be a matter of getting with my contractor and giving them the green light to break ground. I'd love to have you guys out there if you guys wanted to take pictures with the shovels as well.
I think 30 days would be sufficient. Sometimes construction companies might promise you, you're waiting on a third party to start your
Yeah.
project. 30 days would be more than sufficient.
Okay, well, if, anything else, make a motion? Jim? An executive, okay.
For the purpose of
All right, before anything, right? Okay, so you wanna move this to executive?
At this time?
Well, you can hold it, and we got a bunch of agenda items. Or you wanna do it now? Okay, we can, yes, then we'll do that. Second? First and second?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye. 6:54, and executive.